Hey, this is Robin with Creative2xmom, and today I'm going to be sharing with you how we DIY our Book of Centuries. So welcome back to my channel. My name is Robin and this is Creative2xmom. This channel is all about homeschooling, parenthood, and thriving in the day-to-day. We are currently going into our 9th homeschool year, 9th or 10th, I can't quite remember anymore. And we decided that we wanted to incorporate a Book of Centuries into our homeschool. Now, I draw a lot of inspiration from the Charlotte Mason philosophy. We love to study artists, we love to study poetry and composers and nature study and get out, do a lot of hands-on stuff. Are we Charlotte Mason purists? Absolutely not. We're very eclectic. We like to do different things that grab our attention at different times, but I do lean toward a lot of the gentle homeschooling philosophy of Charlotte Mason. So as we were studying history last year, my daughter happened to mention to me, you know, Mom, sometimes all of this gets jumbled up in my brain and I can't really remember the order of things. And that for me, I was a little sad because that's what I want to focus on in history. Not so much the specific dates, but the order of how one event can lead to another, and so forth. And really the people as well. I think people are really important. So I started looking into what a Book of Centuries would entail. And I didn't know a whole lot about it, but it's basically a kind of a compiled timeline of people and events in a more compact, instead of having the timeline running down the length of my hallway, which I don't even really want that either. But it gives your child a frame of reference of people and events in relationship to each other. And that was something that I was sharing with her, is that then when we even sit down and read a book, we can see what was going on in the world that may have influenced that author, and it pulls it all together. So you can do this with, I don't know, you could probably make one on a computer. You could do it with loose leaf binder paper and put it in a binder. I chose to go out and get the 25-cent notebooks at the back to school sale so that we are each going to have one. If you have really young kids, I would say just do a family notebook together that you can guide and they can have input into, so that you can review it different times as you're studying new concepts in your homeschool. But we're going to put ours in just a spiral bound notebook. This is the first time that we have used a Book of Centuries as well, and that's the other thing I'm trying in my brain to wrap my mind around, how we're going to incorporate it into our schedule. I think what we're going to do is put these in our morning basket. That'll kind of be their place in our day, so that we can enter artists and composers and poets, see how they were influenced by the time in which they lived. And then we're also going to tag our history this year onto the end of our morning basket time. So that should be a good place for them to live, if you will. If you have any other suggestions of how to remember this, because this is going to be a new habit for us, how to remember to do them, let me know. I'm hoping they're not a complete fail, because I think even for me, they would be a good tool to help me remember things. The other great thing about this is it also helps your child enter into their place in history and be aware of some of their contemporaries who are famous authors of their time, famous poets of their time, and how they relate to historical events. So I'm going to flip the camera around so I can give you guys an inside look on how I'm putting these together. So these are our DIY Book of Centuries. We just have our basic spiral bound notebook from the back to school sale. On the inside, in my first page, I just listed some of the prehistoric periods. We aren't going to go this far back in our history curriculum, but I thought it would be good for the kids to be familiar with some of the names and dates. And then flipping to our first 2-page layout, we're going to start with the 12th century BC, and I put the dates here on the top as well. And then down the side, I just went ahead and lined the red line of the border, and I am going every 5 years. So I kind of mapped it out so each section would be somewhat even. So we start with 100 to 95 to 90. This page goes all the way down to 55, and then on the opposite side I did the same thing. Of course, because we're in BC, we're counting down. So starting at 50 all the way down to the end. Now, I have seen where some people will put all of their years and maybe count by fives and do every line or every other line, and then leave the second page as like an illustration type page. But we wanted more space to do writing, especially if we're going to be including later on, including things like composers and artists, not just the historical events, but people who lived through those historical events. I really wanted to have the space, and I felt like, I know for sure my daughter thinks more so that way, maybe my son not so much. So then for each double page layout we have a century, and of course in the BC, like I said, we're counting down. Then we come up to, I just finished mine yesterday, so kind of excited about it. When we switch into the AD mode, then we're of course counting up. So we're going 0 and counting by fives all the way down. This one I got to 50, and then we cross over on the other side going 55, and again all the way down. If you wanted to, I had seen where some people always did the left hand side. I like the years as a border for mine personally. It's just kind of the way my mind thinks through things. If you wanted to, you could also put lines between your 0 and your 5, and then that would just mark it out a little bit better. I just used a ruler to get a nice straight edge on the side, so a ruler is great. These are a pretty simple project. They do take some time depending upon how far back you go in the BC. These took me working off and on for the majority of the day. I thought it was going to go a lot quicker than it did, but you would be surprised when you have that many centuries to cover how much work it actually is to draw lines and just write out numbers. So they're pretty simple, they're pretty basic. If you can choose to either do a 1-page layout or a 2-page layout. I really like the 2. You can choose to keep your numbers on the left side, the right side. I like having them as a border for mine personally. And I'm excited to start putting some things in here. I think one of the first things that we're going to do is we're going to talk about both of their birthdays. We're going to get those in right away. Some major family events. We're going to start with kind of filling out, I think, this first one with some more relatable things that we know for sure. Like I said, birthdays and that sort of thing. And then we're going to start getting some dates in for our history curriculum. So I'm thinking this will help us keep things in order. So that is our DIY book of centuries that we're going to be working on incorporating into our homeschool rhythm this year. If you are just hearing this for the first time, what are you thinking about this concept? I really love the concept, and I really want to grab a hold of it and hope that it works for us. And if you have done one before, what are some of your tips and tricks for really making it work in your homeschool? I am learning my way through this one, if you will. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.